Welcome to Archery Country Podcast. Welcome back to Archery Country Podcast. This is Big Waite down in the Rogers Studios. We're coming to you on another great episode that we are cutting live in there. No editing whatsoever. I have some super cool guests with me. You guys have become familiar with another voice on Archery Country Podcast. Our other host, the WP boy, Mr. Troy Spooner, is sitting directly to the right of me. Also, I guess I don't have to explain to the right of me because this is also being videoed. You can find this on a YouTube channel called Bowhunter Loco. And I have the man, the myth, the legend, the big buck-killing cowboy, Mr. Charles Thayer is directly across from me. How you doing, buddy?
Guys, I'm doing great, and I really, really appreciate you having me on.
We're glad to have you, Troy. I appreciate you making the trip down. This is going to be pretty fun, isn't it?
It is. I'm excited for this one. This is going to be pretty interesting because I've tried doing some of the stuff you're doing, and I have failed miserably.
You want to know the extent of my self-filming?
Yeah.
Instagram selfies in the tree stand or stupid-ass squirrels that are, running around. Like, I completely respect. I kind of know you because I did some research on you. But today's episode, for those of you that are looking at your phone going, well, where are they going with this story? This is about self-filming and a gentleman that has started a YouTube channel / company that's not out to make mega $1 million. He's not out to be Lee Lakosky and have his own show yet. Goals in the future, probably. But Charles had a very, very successful 2021 season, and it's documented. He shot a buck that we'll talk about later called the Wild Card. And he's a stud. He's super wide. He's super cool. You already seen the pictures on the intro to this. But Charles, if you don't mind, like we do at each and every podcast, every time that we have a different guest, is we want a little meat and potatoes. We want a little history, like where you're from, how you got started. Is it archery? Is it hunting? Is it outdoors? Is it where are we going with that? If you wouldn't mind, take us on that little journey.
Yeah, totally, guys. Thanks so much again. So I grew up in the cities, man, Minnetonka, Wayzata area, and hunting wasn't a part of my family culture and whatever. But when I was 24, my buddy said, hey, you want to shoot my bow out in his backyard? And I did. And that was instant addiction. The way that you feel when you shoot a primitive weapon like that, but nowadays they're so accurate, right? It just really put that, adrenaline in me, and I got hooked. And so from then on, I started bow hunting. I'm 40 now. Started bow hunting 17 years ago, and I started holding off for mature bucks at about 7 years in, so about 11 years ago. And since then, it's just progressed. You know how it is. You start with some public land, then you get some permission. Next thing you know, you want to lease some property, and then eventually, wife and I and the kids ended up buying some property out west. And so I try to spread it out. I try to hunt every different style if I can, but mainly mature whitetail bucks. And I can't find anything else in my life that I enjoy doing more than that. So
I love it. It's kind of a different story than most of our guests.
I would say so. That's interesting, too, because, so many people who get into archery, like, did you have anything in mind when you wanted to get into hunting, or was it just the archery part grabbed you and then hunting followed?
Yeah, it was the shooting that bow. I don't know what it was. It was just so accurate and yet primitive. And then eventually my buddy's like, well, let's go out to this public land and let's try this and try that. And my first sit, I had a doe come under me and I froze. I had no idea what to do. I couldn't shoot. I couldn't do anything. And I told him afterwards, and he's like, what the heck, man? Why didn't you shoot? And I'm like, I don't know. I got nervous. I don't know. So after that, it took off from there, and I never want to look back,
And so the self-filming, we've all had the outdoor TV, or we all have YouTube. If you don't, then you're probably cut off from society based as far as hunting. Where did this idea or dream, or was it just for fun to execute good shot sequence, or was it something so that you could watch where you shot, or was it always like, I want to go into production?
Well, I always thought that the videos, for everything from Outdoor Channel, which does a good job, but then more recently, some of the grassroots stuff on YouTube, some of the public public hunters. I forget their name. I'm sorry.
Hunting Public.
Yeah, Hunting Public. Yeah, sorry.
That's good.
Got me on the spot. It's all really good stuff. And so I was always motivated by that. But I think that you start out just like everybody starts out, and you pull out your phone when you see a couple does coming in, and then you show, your wife or your kids or friends when you get back from the hunt, and you just build off of that a little bit more and a little bit more. I started trying with like a Tacticam or, the bow mounted stuff, and wasn't really getting the quality that I wanted. And then the very first buck that I took on film, I just really, really liked the fact that I could go back and study the film and the arrow placement, because it wasn't the best shot. It was a low shot, and it took the buck overnight to expire. But if I wouldn't have had that film, I wouldn't have known that. I got to run it past a bunch of buddies and stuff, and they were like, hey, give it some time. And luckily that buck expired the next day. But that was 3 years ago, and I just kind of vowed that I would not leave to go into the woods without some a decent camera setup and some equipment, because after that moment, after getting that one buck on film, it was just over. That was 3 years ago, and I said, I'm always going to film. And it's crazy now, because if I leave home sometimes to go hunt and I forgot my camera backpack, I will turn around and go back. And not everybody's going to be that committed to making a video, but it's just like how I got addicted to bow hunting whitetails. I've now become addicted to filming bow hunting whitetails. It's just as much of an addiction.
Another branch to the tree, so to speak.
Yeah, totally.
For those of you that are watching this right now or listening to it, either way, you can already sense that maybe Charles has a little bit to do with production and a background story. You probably heard his voice before, because you have your own radio show.
Yep,
you're part of.
Twin Cities News Talk, AM 1130. I own All Around. We get it done and we do it right. That's roofing, siding, and windows company, and we're all over the radio in the Twin Cities and TV. And so if you feel like you recognize my voice, you might. So.
Yeah. So there's a little background behind that. Where today is going to go with Bowhunter Local, your YouTube channel, the idea behind that, what they can find on that. And again, I'm going to reference this video because it's the only video that I've seen, but it wasn't just a one afternoon sit, one morning sit. This was an entire season. I forget, I didn't write down how many hours that you actually had documented, or you were sitting in a tree stand, but it was a ton.
Yeah.
For I wouldn't say a long video, but a decent sized video on YouTube. It took a lot more than the 28 minutes that we watched.
Yep. Oh, wait, if you don't mind me just taking a half a step backwards and saying, look, people get into videoing their hunts for a lot of different reasons. It could be the most simple. I just want to show this to my buddies. I don't care about editing. I don't care about nothing. I just want to get the shot or capture some deer in my hunt. And that's totally fine. And then you get people that want to take it all the way into a career and get into the industry itself. I'm somewhere in between that. I will pass up videoing a beautiful buck if I have a chance to kill it but can't get it on camera. Like, I've already made up my mind that if the buck that I want that's going to make me happy comes by, but I'm not ready to video that, it doesn't matter. I'm going to make that harvest, because that's what I'm out there first. The video is just a bonus. It's second. But you have to make up your mind, because some guys are the opposite of that.
We've seen it. And I don't know how much of this is dubbed. Troy, you got some friends that are in the outdoor industry as well. You always hear are you on him? Are you on him? Yep. Usually it's a pair. Today we're talking about self-filming.
Yeah, correct.
So you can't really look over your shoulder and say, are you on him?
No.
You look down at your camera. Is this one of the many cameras that you have?
Yeah, this is one of my setups right here.
All right, so you're looking down at the screen but I want you to, because I already know some people have already pushed 15 seconds back and listened to that.
Yeah.
If you have a 170-inch deer that you call Ace of Spades, and he comes out and your camera's pointing off to the north, filming a chickadee, and this deer is here and you have one shot, 5 seconds to do it, you will take it.
You better draw that Ace of Spades. I don't know very many people that will, unless you feel like you're going to have many more chances and that your ultimate goal is to have it on video, if you're in the industry or whatever. But I think 99% of even serious bow hunters need to go ahead and harvest that beautiful buck, because you may regret it for the rest of your life.
Absolutely. How difficult is this made bow hunting. So I'll just go out and say you've had a short career from bow hunting, shooting your first animal off video, or has every animal been on video?
No, I've shot plenty of deer, but
So
How many videos do you have out right now?
there's just 4 videos. And what's funny is you can see the progression of just how crappy I was at editing and filming in the first one. And then it kind of moves to what I feel like this is actually a decent piece of work. The 2021, the Bowhunter Local video is really a decent piece of work. So there's 4 of them, but again, there's really only one. This is only one that I really feel should even be talked about or recognized at all.
Are you doing your own editing and stuff with this too?
Yeah, absolutely. So editing is a whole nother part of it. So it took me 30 hours to edit this video after the season was over. But let me just tell you, that was so much fun because it extended my season.
Yep.
I mean, here you are going through hours and hours of video just to cherry pick those special moments. And yeah, I know you wanted to get into it. Maybe this is the right time to talk about that video.
yeah, absolutely. We can do whatever we want.
Okay, well, you just tell me. I don't want to just people get sick of my voice.
No, they do not. I want to elaborate on how it adds another degree of difficulty.
Yep.
Is just from basing off it. It's common knowledge, right? You got camera equipment. You want to have, I don't know all the terminology, but a center stage presentation. You want things in focus. There's a lot of things that go into that besides, like for me, for instance, I've been on one video and it wasn't me. I had somebody that was videoing it. But my concentration when my target animal comes in, rather be a turkey or an elk or a bear or a deer, whatever it may be, is 100% on that. How much more difficult is this, or is it opposite where it takes your brain and you can focus on a couple different things, so maybe you don't have what we call buck fever? Yep. Or do you still get it? Like, take me a little bit on that.
No, you're absolutely right. I mean, just on that last piece real quick, it does just distract your brain a little bit. I'll admit, I have fallen asleep in the stand many times, right? It's like, I think sleeping in a stand or in a saddle is one of the best parts of hunting. But once I decided to actually film my hunts, I found that I don't even have the urge to, because I'm trying to create a video. I'm trying to tell a story more than just capturing the harvest, more than just shooting the target buck that I'm after. There's a whole story, especially when you're showing these videos to people that aren't really into the hunting lifestyle or don't hunt. They need to understand kind of what more goes into it than just killing the animal, because as we all know, it isn't just about killing the animal. So you find yourself trying to see a cool squirrel or a nice sunset, or capture other things. But to your point, it makes it a lot more difficult to. I mean, if you're just focused on that buck and you're staying aware and ready, and you're not going to move as much when you're filming, you move a lot. I did write down some of the negatives about self-filming, and I would just start with the gear that you have to pack in. I mean, most of the time we're already all too heavy as it starting out, right? And then you add the camera packs, and if you're taking 2 cameras, there's more, but there's good ways to do it. We can talk about that. The time and the setup, right? Getting in the stand an extra 20 to 30 minutes early to get all of that stuff set up is super important. Money, right? It's going to cost you more money to get this equipment and to really dedicate yourself to doing this. And then the learning curve, right? Focusing the camera, determining what equipment is best for you, and then the editing was probably the biggest learning curve for me. And then probably the worst thing, and you just got to be prepared for it. You have to accept this ahead of time. Self-filming can screw up your best hunt. You did everything right, but you went to go get that shot. You went to move that camera, and instead of shooting the buck or doing whatever, you ruined your hunt. You chase that buck off or whatever. That can happen. So if you go into it knowing that these things are just going to be prevalent, it's going to be a factor, the positives are amazing.
Absolutely. And I think as far as listeners go, and Troy, you can add in on this, what we preach, not only are we bow technicians, first and foremost, when you come through the store's door, we're salesmen. So we're here to answer any questions. We're here to guide you, rather it be personal experience or what we know based on equipment knowledge. But some of us take it a little bit further, is your shot execution, your routine, your preparation, your practice. Like we beat it in and beat it in and beat it in, and we try it. to get you to where when you do have a pressure situation, things come natural. Firsthand, I can tell you things don't always go as planned. As yesterday morning, things don't work all the time. But where I'm going with this is one of the coolest things about video, and rather it be a simple low budget setup with a Tacticam.
Yep.
Or GoPro over your shoulder. Or if you want to get in as extensive as you guys with your high dollar cameras and that. When Troy, you did a podcast with a gentleman, I forget his name, but it was about dog tracking and and you touched about shot placement and what happens if our mind actually goes into a comatose of like, yeah, you made an awesome lethal shot. Like it directs you. You did good. You did your job, but maybe not. Where video, no matter what level you're at, if you can go back, even if you're in the tree stand, I assume you've watched your videos back or watched your shot.
Only a couple 100,000 times.
So, and we see it all the time as guys will come back on, guys and gals, and say, hey, we reviewed the footage. I love that saying. We reviewed the footage and we're going to wait.
Yep.
That's probably one of the greatest factors of it, because the end goal is the same for all three of us sitting here and all 30,000 people listening, right? It's successfully harvesting that animal. And if you do make an oopsie shot, things happen with archery equipment. I guess you could be the same with a gun, but it's kind of a little bit different.
Sure.
You can stop, back out, come back, go look at on a camera. Even if you went back to the house and all of your buddies in hunting camp, you're watching a big screen, you're like, oh, he's dead 40 yards away. Right. Now, not jumping ahead, but wild card. He dropped on camera.
Yeah, that was pretty simple, right?
That's like the ultimate, right?
Like I couldn't even believe it. You know, there it is. Like it is the ultimate, right? And so I was very fortunate. But to your point, that is one of the most difficult decisions to make, because what a hard way to spend a night. It's a sleepless night when you have that buckling out there. You not only feel bad for the animal, but you also want to recover it and be successful. So it's a tough decision to make, to back out. It really is. But when you have that footage, you can make that decision a little easier.
And I think it as well is we all want to be one with the animal, right? We want to study and we want to learn. It doesn't matter what your animal may be. Having video footage, and this is where I can see it would be a treat to go back and edit things. And you're like, oh, that doe reacted differently to this, or that deer, why did he spook on that direction, or the wind, like learning, what is the words I'm trying to
their behavior.
Yeah. Like not becoming one with an animal, because it sounds like I'm reading out of a book, but like you're understanding your surroundings, because we don't live in the outdoors every hour of the day. Most of us,
we all wish we could.
Well, yeah, most of us are blue collar hunters, and we're out there for 3-4 hours at a sit, maybe some all day sits when it depends on it, or we'll go on a trip every 1, 3, 5 years, big trip, 10-day trip, but we're not out there all the time. And that's where I think this is also, you can learn little things with your video and your cell film. If you don't mind, before we go on the story, like what equipment are we talking about? You shoot Matthews?
Yep, I do shoot a Matthews. Gosh, I can't keep up with which one it is.
Vertex.
It's a Vertex. Yeah, thank you. Do shoot a Matthews, and I have some really good gear. Obviously, I've accumulated a lot of good gear, but in terms of the camera gear, I do want to point out that there's some really low budget ways to get into it. Okay. Most recently, GoPro has come out with a new 360 Max. I don't know if you guys have heard of these cameras before, but they're amazing for the person that wants to just start self-filming. What they are is basically a 360-degree sphere of a camera, right? It's the size of a GoPro. You can put it above your head in the tree, and the only blind spot that this camera is going to have is the tree itself. That's it. So, if you wanted to, you could do 2 of these and you'd have no blind spots, but even one is going to get 95% of what's happening. And then in the editing process, you can then clip out just the portion of that sphere that you want. So it's recording a complete sphere, but you take the part where you and the buck are, or whatever, the money shot, you can edit that out and then put it into normal video, and they look awesome. So I'm actually looking at getting one just to add it to the different perspectives that I have out there in the woods. But if I were just starting today, that would be on my target sites.
That thing sounds awesome.
Yeah,
I didn't even know they had that.
Yeah, there's a couple different companies that are putting it out there, but I highly recommend, especially if you're starting out, because then it's just like, okay, look, you press it on and it goes. The problem that a lot of people have had with GoPros is the battery life really sucks. So if you're on a 3-hour hunt, right, it's going to die about 45 minutes into the hunt. What you can get is an external battery pack, right? And then you hang that up next to your bow hanger, put it next to the GoPro, do whatever. Then you can put the GoPro on a feature called a loop, a 5-minute loop or 20-minute loop. Mm-hmm. And it's only capturing the last 5 or 20 minutes of your hunt. So if you made a shot or you captured something on video, you then hit stop recording, and it only captured on the SD card that last 5 minutes or 20 minutes, whatever you have it set on. Plus, with the extended battery pack, you have enough battery to last the whole day if you want. So it's a set it and forget it setup that the most amateur self-filmer can start using today.
Sign me up. That's what I need.
Yeah, absolutely.
When you started this stuff, when you started like going in to get your cameras and you were picking out stuff, did you stay on like the cheaper end of things?
I went middle of the road.
Middle of the road.
Yeah.
Is that what you would suggest to anyone gonna go try and do this?
I would say start with either the bow mounted setups or something like this GoPro Max, 360 degree field of view, and see if you like it. Don't dive in, because it starts to get really expensive when you're talking microphones, when you're talking the editing software. When it's all said and done, it really does get expensive. Make sure you like it, and then if you like it, by all means, the sky's the limit, you know.
Yep.
So,
and you can use this equipment for more than just whitetail.
Totally.
Any aspect, or fishing, I suppose, might be just a little bit different. Any activity that you want to do.
Yeah,
record. We're basing it on whitetails today.
Yeah, well, the stabilization functions now. If you want to get mobile, if you talk about fishing or you talk about mobile hunting, you could be riding a bike down a super bumpy dirt road and have that thing mounted on your handlebars. And with the stabilization features that they have in the editing process, it's like being floating on air. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Super smooth. You can't even tell. So
Really?
It's pretty incredible what you can do, what technology has been made it able to do.
I'm curious too, like when you go out and you're setting up your set, how many cameras are you running at a time?
So I'm only running 2.
So basically, like, what do you have running?
Yep. So I have a GoPro above my head, usually on the bow mount, with that extended battery pack running on a loop. So again, set it and forget it.
Yep.
That thing's always on. And then I have an arm. There's a company called Fourth Arm, which makes really lightweight. And I should mention that real quick. Lightweight, everything you get from your tripod stands to I mean, you can't really get a lightweight camera. You can pick a smaller camera, but you got to consider weight, right? Because you're already carrying your bow, your backpack, the rattle horns, your binoculars, your food or whatever you have, you're already going in heavy, and then you're adding this equipment. So just keep in mind the weight, but 2 perspectives is amazing, right? Because you want to, in order to really be able to tell that story, you have the viewer seeing you in the tree and then seeing you make the shot. And as you'll see in my film, I was able to take the clip of me making the shot and put it in the top left-hand corner and watch the buck come in the big screen. And you put those 2 together, and it almost looked like I was shooting out of the tree stand. It was awesome.
Are you just because we do have some, don't take this personal, but some geeks.
Oh yeah,
camera
no
geeks.
problem.
One of them is Nate. What is that?
Oh, it's a Sony A7. Yeah, and I just want you to know I'm not a camera geek.
Okay.
So I talk to guys that do it often. I have some buddies in the industry, and I say, what do I get? And they tell me to get it. I plug it in. It works. And gotcha. I don't get into too much of the details because it's not my everyday job,
And then, so that microphone, so when we do our YouTube videos on Archery Country, right, we have a wireless mic that we run underneath. Is that your microphone, or do you have a wireless system on you?
So there's no reason for me self-filming to have a wireless microphone. I don't do a lot of interviews in the stand. You know what I mean? I just keep it quiet. Matter of fact, I like music in my videos more than anything. But if you have a partner and you're filming with, absolutely, the lapel clip-on microphones are great. Rode, I think, is one of the great companies. But this is a shotgun microphone. It's from Rode, and it's probably the best style of microphone to have. And then you put the wind sock over it, which can reduce on wind. But I'll tell you what, on on that day when I shot the wild card, it was so windy it didn't matter. So you put music over it, you make it cool how you like it, and then it ends up being all right.
So I already know the answer to this, but I might as well ask it. Are you a saddle hunter, tree stand hunter, both?
So I saddle hunt as much as I can, but I have, before I got into saddle hunting, I had already set up many stands in, at home, at my lease and everything. And it just, to me, it doesn't make sense to pull those down. They're in good spots. Yep. It's easy. You get out there, clip in, and you don't have to worry about the ropes in the saddle and getting all set up that way, especially for self-filming. However, saddle hunting to me is the absolute breakthrough for my hunting. A lot like John Eberhart said, to go back to a tree stand would set him back 30 years. He would never go back. I firmly believe that everybody should have a saddle as one of their tools in their bag. And it doesn't matter. People are like, I don't know, I'm not nimble, I'm not a small guy, or I'm not very flexible, this and that. It doesn't matter. I haven't found one stand that's as comfortable as a saddle. Right. And I like to sleep, remember.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we might as well go on this little journey. Mm-hmm. We kind of got your background, and we got a storyline started and equipment. I like stories. I like hunting stories. I know Troy does as well. A lot of his podcasts kind of go around that core line.
More the merrier.
Yeah. So 2021.
Yep.
This video, again, attached here to the bottom. Link in bio, I guess, if you wanted to say that. Take us through your 2021 season, when you started a relationship with this buck, or you don't have to go into where you were at or the property even, but just hey, I want to hear this story behind not only just the shot and the kill, but the whole season added up to it.
Yep, totally. And I appreciate you asking, because believe it or not, I love telling this story.
That's what it's about.
So I was going for a walk in the middle of the summer, and with my wife and the dog and whatnot on a dirt road, and off on a neighbor's property, we actually saw a big wide buck. And I don't know whether it was him or not, but not knowing what I know now, I believe it was the wild card buck. I started getting photos from that neighbor saying, I can't believe it. We're out west of Delano, and typically we're known for not the best genes in the area. It's just tough hunting, right? It's not southeast Minnesota or Iowa or any of that stuff, right? And he says, he starts sending me these photos of this wide buck that was still growing. And I was like, wow, he's amazing. That's cool. I hope you get him, And so the season went on, and I didn't go into the season with any particular buck in mind. I haven't done that yet. I haven't said, this is the buck I want to shoot. Maybe I'll get there one day, but for me, it's something respectable, and when I see it, I'll know I want it. Yep. That's how I go into it. When I see it, I'll know I want it. And I passed up on a few good ones, as you'll see in the video, but it was after my hunting partner Nick, he got his. It was getting into the gun season, and this is when it starts getting frustrating for a bow hunter. I think you weren't able to get it done earlier in the season. Now it's a wild card situation, right? Anyone can get one at any given time. It's, are you at the right place at the right time, right? And that was hence the reason for the video. I'd love one day to shoot one earlier in the season, and obviously I'm trying. But we're into November, and all of a sudden I got some photos. I checked some cameras. I got some photos of him. He showed up one time in late November. And I'm like, wow, that's amazing. But I know where he lives. He lives over on the neighbor's property, and he just one time. So I didn't get overly excited. I continued to hunt hard. I mean, in that video, you'll notice I put up on the screen, it was over 60 hunts. So that's including mornings and afternoons, about 160 hours in the tree stand, 17 different sets, 17 different locations for hunting. And so I was grinding, man. I was doing everything I could. I started seeing one buck that was like, oh, that's going to be my target buck. He was a half rack. I don't know if you remember that guy.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Really nice, mature buck, really, really respectable, but he only grew one side because he probably got maimed on the road at one point in his life. But I had 3 encounters in a row with this thing, and I'm thinking, this is going to be mine because I'm getting closer. I'm closing the deal. So you mind if I get into the morning of?
Absolutely.
So get up the morning of, the kids got to go to school. I was supposed to hunt 2 hours before I actually ended up waking up. I'm like, crap, I slept in. I'm like, all right, well, I might as well help the kids out, get them ready, say goodbye, walk them out to the school bus, got them off. And then I'm like, almost skipped going out. I'm like, it's already late. What are the chances? Whatever. And then I'm like, no, you know what? There's a little snow. I'm going out. So I went out. It's weird because some of the hunts that you think you're the most screwed up hunts, like I made a lot of noise coming in. I forgot my bow. I went back. This didn't happen on this hunt, but in general, some of the hunts that you think are so shot and screwed up because of things you did getting out there and getting ready end up being some of the best hunts. And this is no different than that. So I get out there 45 minutes later. I'm just kind of dinking around, watching, looking, doing what I do. And 300 yards away, and again, we're gun season here, so it's rough. 300 yards away, a doe steps out into a cut bean field. Behind her, a mature buck steps out. I can't tell who it is, what it is. Is it a shooter? Is it not? I can't tell. It's too far. I tried grunting. You won't see this in the video because I cut it out. I tried grunting. I tried snort wheezing. I tried doing some of the softer, not aggressive calls. Nothing, because of the wind and how far it was. He couldn't react. So I pulled out my black racks and I smashed them as hard as I could to see if I could even get him to hear. He heard it. He turned and looked. And I'm like, okay, well, this is working. So I did a little bit more smashing as hard, really aggressive calling, not tickling him at all, just smashing them together. And then he looks back at her. And if I were to put words to his thoughts, he'd say, well, I've already had some time with you. I need to move on. We both need to move on. It's not me. It's not you. It's me. But we both need to move on. Okay. This thing starts a 300-yard haul. I mean, he is hauling. He is in almost a full speed, definitely faster than a gallop. And he's coming in. And at this point, I don't think that he's going to actually come all the way. It's just unbelievable to me that he's going to come all the way. So I continue filming. I tried to focus. I tried to, get my camera set, get everything ready. And then he got to he hit the swamp that I was in. He started coming in closer. And then I said to myself, okay, this is going to happen. You better get ready for a shot. So I put the camera on the main camera, the A-roll camera, in a position where it's wide out. That's the mistake a lot of filmers make. They think they need to zoom in to an animal, and they end up missing the shot. You're shooting in 4K. You can zoom out as far as you want, and you will still be able to edit a really high-quality film. So there's my best tip I can give you is stay panned out, stay wide, and get that shot. So I set it wide. I got my bow ready. This you won't see in the film either. All of a sudden, my release is not clipped to my bow. Again, just a havoc morning. The morning was all whatever. Since when do I not take my T-handle release and clip it to my bow? It's always there. And that's another tip. T-handles, because you don't want the wrist release. If you have a wrist release, it's a lot harder to get set up. When you're filming, you just want your T-handle hanging on the bow so you can grab it like it's a string and give it heck. All right. So the sucker comes in, gets ready. I'm thinking, all right, it's going to get into a lane. I had to make one more adjustment. I moved my feet all the way to the 90-degree position where I know I need to be, and then it moved into a lane, and I didn't need to even stop this thing. It was looking for the fight. It was looking for that noise. They know where you are, and when they commit to running in, give it up. Stop rattling. And I mean, the rest is history. We put it in the bread basket and he expired about 60 yards from the tree right in the middle of the field.
Okay. Two things. One, don't stop, because I have never been this intent on a podcast, like listening. Like obviously we have cameras and I'm over here nodding like I'm a bobblehead, like, oh, and I'm sweating and I'm like, oh my God. Okay, I've already watched this. I've already lived this. You were doing so awesome until it isn't. You just didn't shoot him. Like, you had so much going on, and everything happened. I loved how you edited it.
Thank you.
That is a hell of a shot that you pulled off.
Yeah.
Practice, I assume, great equipment set up correctly. I recognize the arrows. I didn't ask you about the broadhead.
Grim Reaper.
Oh, God. I just fell in love with you all over again.
Three blade fixed.
Okay. So I was going to pull up the video here real quick. Troy, you watch this?
I did.
Okay. Anyways, I don't need to pull it up because listeners can pull it up. 1/4
Yep.
ever so slightly. I can stop the video and draw before you shoot, like a little pink circle of where you needed to put that arrow. Composure. You have the perfect opportunity to lie right now and say you picked a hair, or if you say you're super lucky, but that was a phenomenal shot.
So I'm like every other average bow hunter out there, and no different. 3-4 years ago, I missed a buck that was 19 yards away, and I was so nervous that I looked back and I realized I didn't look through my peep sight, right? I don't know if anyone here has ever done this, but I put the pin on him, but I wasn't looking through the peep sight because I just couldn't believe this buck was broadside at 19 yards. I shot twice. I missed twice because I didn't look through my peep sight. That's like shooting a shotgun from the hip and using the end of the shotgun to try to aim.
Right.
It doesn't work very well. After that devastating, I mean, I cried. I went home, told my wife what happened, and tears came out of my eyes, right? I had 2 arrows lit up.
Right.
And after that happened, I have never made a shot on a buck without my last thought being, are you looking through your peep sight? And I know that sounds so simple and stupid, but when you're dialed in, your bow's dialed in, and you've practiced and you've done everything, for heaven's sakes, at 15, 17 yards, if you're looking through your peep sight and your pin is where you want it, slap that trigger, let it go. You know what I mean? I know our target shooters are going to say, don't slap the trigger, don't whatever. But hey, you're not there to hit a bullseye here. You're there to make a good kill. And that's what happened. And that's the only thing I'll do from now on is I will just make sure, are you looking through your peep sight?
So you made an awesome shot. The broadhead did its job. Your arrow did its job. The bow did its job. Your release did its job. Camera did its job. I actually hollered at you on the video after you shot him and he ran off, and I can about imagine the fulfillment, the excitement,
Confusion.
I said put the damn camera on the deer.
Yeah.
Let me see where, and then you eventually got there.
I forgot. I mean,
but you were, and it was so, what I loved about this video is it was 100% natural. You edited out what you said, but you turned around after he'd fallen. You got the camera back onto the deer. It was expiring, or he tipped over. And then when you turned around, and I assume you're looking at your GoPro.
Yeah, exactly.
And then what you said, like, oh my gosh, it just happened. That's the PG rated.
Yeah,
version.
yeah. It was a confusing moment. It was, what the heck? You know what I mean? Like, really? Is that? Because this is what you dream of. This is what every bow hunter dreams of happening, rattling in the coolest way, right? You rattled him in, he left a doe, he came all the way across the field to look for a fight, and then he stands in front of you at 15 yards broadside. I mean, I just can't draw it out. And then he expires 60 yards in front of you, and you're just in heaven. There's just I can't draw heaven up any better than that. I'm sorry.
What was the spread on that deer?
It was 23 on the outside and just over 20 and 5/8 on the inside.
Oh man, what a beast!
Yeah.
It was a really, really cool deer.
Really unusual for our area also.
Right.
It's just odd.
We've heard the term ground shrinkage.
Yeah.
It was exact opposite. I don't know if it's because we were wide view. When he started galloping across the field, I'm like, oh, dude, okay. Stellar deer. I shot a really wide deer a couple years ago, and I've noticed it right away. I was like, okay, this dude's wide.
Yeah.
Like this is cool. Is it gonna happen? And then like you forgot to grab your bow, or your release, and like it's all going on, and I'm getting nervous, and that's why I love hunting videos. That's why I love talking to guys who produce hunting videos or just hunting stories. Like we're reliving the moment, right?
Yeah.
And I'm super pumped, and I'm like, this is gonna happen. It's gonna happen. And then it did, and the deer fell over, and I was like, okay, this is perfect. Now is when we get the fancy B-roll and the whole editing comes in, and the commercials and all that. And it wasn't nothing. You walked up to him, but the closer you got to him, he grew.
I noticed that.
He
Yeah,
grew,
just
and I'm
kept getting bigger.
And I go, is that a flyer? Is that a kicker? Oh my God, this deer is 2 feet wide.
Yeah.
And he's not, I mean, he's a very mature animal, big animal.
Yeah.
Where does the wild, so when we're watching this video, very creative editing. It was your wife.
Yep, got a chance to
Turning
get the family involved. My daughter was hunting with me some of that season, and then the wife, you know, she gave me crap one time about getting a buck and then calling my friend first. Hey, guys out there, don't call your buddies first. Call your wife, okay?
I've been there.
So I always remember that because they're in your court. They're cheerleading you on more than anybody else out there, and they deal with all your crap too. So
Yeah.
call your wife. So I didn't even go to the buck. I didn't. I knew he was out there. He was going to be out there. So I went home and got her. And I said, hey, just walk with me. You know what I mean? She grabbed the camera for a little bit. And then once I realized, like, why am I doing this? I said, give me that camera. And I held it up so you could see both of us walking out there. Honestly, one of the most special emotional moments. It was a tough year for us. We had a tragic loss in our family. My mom had died just a little bit sooner than before that had happened. And so just a ton of emotions came to me right when that happened, and getting my hands on him. And by the way, I knew what buck it was because there's no other buck in the area that looked like that. And I knew that was the one my neighbor was sending pictures of. And it was just, I was elated. That's the best word I can use.
That's a very good word.
I have another tech question for
man.
you.
Yeah.
So like batteries on your camera,
Yep.
is there some that work better than others, like in cold weather? Because I know with some of the cameras I've been using,
Yep.
I got a full charge, I set them up, something's happening, I turn it on, I'm filming, 1 bar.
Yeah.
It's like, what the heck's going on?
So once it gets into, 15 degrees or less, there's not much equipment out there that's set to handle that cold. I keep extra batteries. Again, you got to watch how much you pack in, but I keep some extra batteries for that. But if you start getting into 15 and below, it's super hard on your equipment. Things are going to run out. Now you're doing things in the stand and in the blind or whatever that you shouldn't really be doing. You should be focusing on your hunt. And my suggestion would be, get the job done sooner.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, because I just don't know how to deal with it any better than that.
I had that one, and sorry I circled back to this one. I still
This is
want
what it's cool about having two of us.
to go into that, but like your tripods and stuff, or your, what is it, 4th arrow arms you're using,
Yep.
or fluid heads. Are you using fluid heads?
Yeah, absolutely. I can't remember the brand name of it, but this is a fluid gel head something. I don't know. It's one of the heaviest parts of that whole setup. The tripod is carbon fiber. The camera is pretty lightweight, relatively speaking. And then you have a controller for the arm of the head. And there's a technical word for the arm, but I'm on the spot, so I can't think of it. A lance. It's called a lance controller. So zooming in, zooming out, and focusing can all be done on the end of the arm of the camera. Right, I'm pointing. We're on radio. I can't.
That's so good.
Can those hook up to any camera, or does it have to have a certain
most cameras have a 2.5 millimeter jack that you just plug in the LANC controller. That way, it's one hand controlling, whether it's zooming in, zooming out, or focusing. One thing you'll notice in the film is I actually had it on manual focus, because when he was running 300 yards, I had to go through limbs to focus on it. And then when he came into the 100-yard part, I didn't return it to autofocus, which autofocus works great when there isn't branches and limbs in your way, because it won't get those in the picture. But manual focus is better when you have to focus it. So I should have switched. I should have hit that button once he got within 75 yards or so to go back to autofocus, because then that final shot would have been a little less blurry. But hey, we still got the job done.
Yeah.
So.
And how about with that fluid? Have you ever had issues with that stuff freezing up in cold weather?
No, not yet. Never. I think it's a gel, and I think they do a pretty good job of not having it freeze up. So
Nice.
I mean, at least I haven't experienced that.
I love it. I think it gives a great opportunity for us to Troy came up with this idea actually when you started podcast is the pro tech tip.
Yeah.
We're kind of getting techie on it. Camera gear, we don't really sell anything at the shop on that. We're taking your word for it. We do offer Tacticam through Archery Country and on online, and that, like we talked about before, that's your simplified.
Yeah.
budget friendly.
It's effective. It is. The first version of it came out and was really hard to actually see when you shoot your bow to actually get the shot, because the bow goes nuts, it just vibrates so much. But now, again, like I said, with the software and probably the more current versions of it, I'm sure it's gotten a lot better.
Yeah, like, have you noticed that they have that new remote style now with the Tacticams where you can have multiple cameras? You can set them up anywhere. They're putting them by turkey decoys, deer decoys, wherever. You got one above you, got one below you, and one press. I think that'd be a pretty sweet way to get like multiple. I mean, you're talking five different angles you could have up on that one remote.
Yep.
Very, very you can get so creative with it, and it's just awesome. I love to see where everything's going with it, and I think that's why it's so good that we're talking about this today, because it's becoming more and more popular. I mean, guys just want to, with this phone revolution and video revolution and social media, people want to share their hunts, and there's so many different ways to do it. So it's pretty awesome.
And it's it's a good thing, like you say, is you're not out to you're not out to what's the words here? You promote some pretty good products. Black Rack we carry in the shop. That's something that there's a video. I don't know. We kind of talked off air a little bit about, where this is going, if they're going to have your video or use it as a clip. But anyways, like some of the equipment that we see in your video readily available at the shops, equipment is, you can go as far into it as you want or not, but there's some stuff that's better than others. Some things that are more compact than others. Some things, like you just said, you brought up another great point. You use a handheld release, or a T-handle is what you quoted it as.
Yeah, is that not what it's called?
No, that's the old school way of calling it. But a handheld that clips onto the string, so you're free. Like, I don't know, for those of you that are wrist rocket, do you shoot a wrist style, index style, or a handheld?
Handheld.
Okay. If I was to try having that wrist release, we call it a wrist rocket, and then rattle as extensive as you did in that video, like, one, I would have injured myself or made some extra noise. But that's another perfect example, is if your release supposed to be on your bow, your hands were free.
Yes.
I can about imagine if you reach down to do your lance arm and it clinks on something.
Can't have it.
Yeah. So there's in this video, one of many, hope to come, you have the opportunity to see equipment being used. We talk about it. We're verbal guys, right? In the shop, we can show you, but we're in the shop. We're not in the field. Here, we're getting a chance to see how you utilize so many different little things to be successful. And this is not your first successful hunt. You have some others on there. Did you, on your video, usually when we say filming with the crew or having another deal, we have an interview and all that. There wasn't a whole lot of interview. You kind of told the story through documentary and through the, we started early season with the foliage, and you had some very, very, is it called B-roll? Is that?
Yeah. Most of the whole thing was B-roll. Yep.
Like, we talked about the bucks you passed, and, it's early season and they're thin hide, and you really up close and personal. The first cutaway that we see as a doe, like, had to be literally right underneath you.
Yeah. You really remember it. That's awesome. Thank you.
Well, I mean, it's something to remember, and it's called doing homework, I guess you could say. On that, it's wild card. Where did the idea come with the
tarot cards?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I really wanted to get my wife involved, and she's in a little bit of that Eastern spirituality stuff, the stars and the the months and all that stuff. So I want to support what she's into. But it was a way to break up chapters, right? So like you have different chapters of a story, and I felt that it was important to have the story broken up into different chapters, and rather than just being like chapter 1 and then chapter 2, whatever, I thought, well, you know what, let's get my wife involved. She does mess around just for fun with the tarot cards every once in a while, and so that was a way. But it really does go back to a reading that she did for me. Her and my oldest daughter, Jasmine, who's 21, they did a reading in the summertime because they were messing around with the cards. And I said, ladies, can you do a reading for me on my bow hunting season? What's going to happen this year? And so Jasmine flips over a bunch of cards, and she basically says, she summarizes, she says, well, you're going to work really, really hard, but you're going to be really, really successful. And I know that sounds like, okay, well, yeah, that could happen to anyone.
Right.
What are the chances? Who cares? That was a fun, special moment in the summer on the patio. And so we brought that in as a way to break up the chapters of the story.
I really like the way you tied in that last card that was flipped over.
Yeah, with the deer.
With the deer on it, and just with the music and everything. It's like, oh my God, here we go.
Something's about to happen, man. Yeah, I got a lot of feedback on the film that from people that aren't necessarily into hunting. So people that are non-hunters that watch it, they're like, well, I don't really know what's going on. And, you could have done maybe a better job, because I asked for the feedback, right? You could have done a better job of explaining things or telling a story. But I'll be honest, man, I've watched so much outdoor television, and if I hear more guys whispering in the stand, I'm going to go friggin' nuts. It's like, for me, I get sick of my own voice, so you're probably getting sick of my own voice, and I'm not an expert. I'm not an expert bow hunter. I'm just a guy out here having a lot of fun. So why not put some killer music, some killer effects in there, and make it something somewhat artistic, right? And that's how I felt about the video. I felt that I put together a work of art, and so it may be different, it may be quirky, it might not tell a story the same way a lot of other pro hunters tell a story, but to me, it's exactly what I wanted.
To me, I kind of thought like it might be harder to paint that picture without talking, but you did an awesome job with all your videography and stuff. I mean, you just laid out that story so nice. Everyone who's listening should really check out the video. It's pretty sweet.
Yeah, we have the opportunity. It's Bowhunter Loco. You say it better than I do.
Bowhunter Loco. Don't you know we loco?
So, I got to ask you. So for people who are listening and not watching, you got to watch the video. Where did
the
this
eye
come?
thing,
Yeah.
the two fingers with the eye thing? So that is my way. That's my call sign to let my family and friends know that I'm thinking about you and you're watching this and I'm watching this. Like we're here together. I might be out in the woods, hours away, miles into the woods, and I'm not going to talk to you for a few days. But when this all comes around and we watch this video together, you'll know that I was thinking about you and you're thinking about me, and we're connected, we're together. So that's the Bowhunter sign off, Bowhunter Loco sign off, right? It's the two eyes thing, right?
I love it.
Very cool.
Yeah, thank you, man.
It's a cool story behind it.
Thank you, man.
What I want you guys to do is check this out. Again, it's attached to our podcast. It's Charles Thayer is the gentleman. We have Bowhunter Loco YouTube. You just got to type that in. This was the wild card buck. He stellar job. Stellar deer, I assume, getting mounted.
Oh yeah, I haven't got it back yet, but oh yeah, we got a spot ready to go.
And do you do any turkey hunting? Is that like
man,
the next
yes. So
chapter?
I've tried, and I've got the one that I shot. He ran with an arrow stuck inside of him. He ran away. I never saw him again. So I got kind of frustrated. Haven't tried again in a while, but the daughter seems to like it. We've been out there in the blind a few times, and so I think that I'm going to follow her path into turkey hunting.
I love it. Troy, you got anything else you want to throw at it?
Yeah, one more quick little like techie thing.
Yeah, please.
Your editing stuff for guys who want to get into this. Is there some simple, easy things we can get into for people who want to get into it?
Yep. So I went with Adobe Premiere Pro. The reason why I went with that, it is actually one of the most complicated versions. There's easier, less customizable stuff out there. There's stuff that puts together videos for you. The sky's the limit. But with Adobe Premiere Pro, what I loved about it was if I wanted to learn how to do something, there was always somebody online with a video and a tutorial to teach me, I want this fade in or fade out, or I want this special effect, or I need the music to do this or do that. There's always somebody saying, hey, everybody, like and subscribe and blah, blah, blah. Hit the little bell button. And today we're going to learn how to do this to the video. And that's how I put the whole thing. That's how I've learned how to do this. So somebody may watch this and be like, wow, this guy must have a background in production and editing. No, man, I got a background in type it in and look it up, So
That's cool.
Thank you, guys.
It's very cool.
You guys are the best, man. I really, really appreciate it.
Troy, it was a pleasure having you down here. Charles, phenomenal job. Look, subscribe as we talk about. I know that's a cliche thing that we say. Subscribe, like, ring the bell for notifications. So when you're sitting in a meeting at work, your phone goes off and break time, I'm going to watch a video. Look for more to come. Again, a lot of the equipment that Charles used on that, from some of the stuff we've seen in the tree saddles we carry, also the Matthews bow, the broadheads, the release, a whole plethora of things. I want to congratulate you or commend you on keeping it natural, like not fluff, not a bunch of bullshit.
Absolutely.
So it was
man.
cool. And the story the same way. We love revealing that, and hopefully come December, maybe we can do a podcast before you release your next video, if things work out for you.
Yeah, well, I think they will. I just want to mention one last thing, guys, that doing this is extremely rewarding. It's an awesome way to get your friends and family involved. It's an awesome way to share what you're actually doing out there. I encourage anybody that has any interest at all in self-filming, get out there, give it a shot, see what happens. You never know. You just may draw a wild card.
I love it. On behalf of everybody at Archery Country Podcast, we appreciate you listening, and we'll see you on down the road.
Thank you for listening to Archery Country Podcast.